This was a job that paid $2,000 an hour.
In the next hour, you will make 200 cash.
The boss handed each of his workers a credit card, and the task was simple. Walk into a store, buy something expensive, bring it back and get paid. That was it. But Emily could not ignore one question. Where did these cards come from? The boss did not try to hide it. The accounts were stolen. Still, he insisted that none of that mattered. If she wanted the money, all she had to do was trust him. Behind the operation was a man named Yosef. He was a skilled hacker who could pull credit card numbers with ease. Using a blank card and an embossing machine, he could replicate any account in minutes. One quick adjustment, one precise engraving, and the clone card was ready. A simple swipe would confirm if it worked. Emily was buried under $60,000 in debt, and that pressure pushed her to take the risk. The first time she walked into a store, the fear hit immediately. She looked around, trying not to draw attention, then grabbed a hat and put it on to blend in. She picked out an expensive item and brought it to the register. While the cashier scanned it, she quietly pulled out the clone card and swiped it, trying to act normal. Then came the hardest part, waiting. Her heart was racing as the total appeared on the screen. $2,000. She had no idea if the card would go through. Each second felt painfully slow, but eventually the payment was approved. She signed the receipt, took the item, and headed for the exit. For a moment, it seemed like everything had worked. But just as she was about to leave, she was stopped.
Yo, you gonna pay for that?
Sorry?
Said, are you gonna pay for that?
Oh my God. Sorry.
And this is where it starts. This is Emily, the criminal. After that close call, Emily returned to the meeting point and handed over the item. In exchange, she received $200 in cash. It was only a fraction of the value, but it was still fast money. Then the boss gave her a phone and a new assignment. This time, the job was far more dangerous, but the reward was $20,000. To Emily, it felt like an opportunity she could not ignore. At the same time, she knew the stakes had changed. If she failed now, it would not just cost her money, it could cost her entire future. The weight of that decision hit her hard. She threw the phone into a trash can, trying to walk away from it all. But she could not. Just a few steps later, she turned back, pulled the phone out, and held onto it tightly. Fear and ambition mixed together in that moment, pushing her forward. She convinced herself this would be the last job. At their next meeting, Yosef came prepared. He gave Emily a black card with no limit, a fake driver's license with her photo, and a certified check. Then he explained the risk. The moment she made a purchase, the system would start working against her. The bank would contact the supplier almost immediately, and from that second on, she would only have 8 minutes before everything was flagged. Emily felt the pressure instantly, but she still agreed to go through with it. This time, the job was on a completely different level. She had to walk into a dealership and buy a brand new car, paying for it in full. No hesitation, no second guessing. Her behavior quickly raised suspicion.
So you don't want to see the car, huh?
No, I don't need to.
A little unusual for someone to buy a car without seeing it.
Still, she pushed forward, handing over the check, the black card, and the ID, doing everything she could to stay calm. When the dealer finally processed the payment, Emily's attention shifted straight to the clock. It was 2:40. That was the moment everything started. 8 minutes, no more. The transaction went through, but time was already slipping away. She was given paperwork, and every second counted. She rushed through it, writing as fast as she could while trying not to show any panic. Soon after, she was led to the car. The plan was simple: get in and leave immediately. She started the engine, ready to drive out without looking back. But just as she was about to escape, something went wrong.
We just need to go back to the office for just a second.
Why, what's wrong?
Nothing. Can you turn off the engine, please?
The situation suddenly shifted, and the tension spiked. The open path in front of her felt so close, yet completely out of reach. Her body froze for a moment as the pressure built. She knew the window was closing fast, and if she hesitated any longer, she would be caught. In that instant, she realized this job might be the one that exposed everything. Then everything exploded into chaos. She made a split-second decision, slammed the gas, and forced her way out. What followed was a desperate escape, with people chasing right behind her. The situation escalated even further when her path was suddenly blocked, leaving her with no easy way out. With no time to think, she abandoned the car and fought her way through, using whatever she had to break free. It was messy, reckless, and dangerous, but somehow she managed to escape. After managing to escape, Emily wasted no time. She handed the car over to Yosef and immediately asked for $2,000. She had no idea just how dangerous that job really was until the stress caught up with her and left her physically shaken, even causing her nose to bleed. Seeing her condition, Yosef offered to take her home. Once they arrived, he continued to look after her, helping her recover and making sure she was okay. At first, Emily was still frustrated, but slowly she began to calm down. Yosef's attention and care started to change the way she saw him. During that time, Yosef also shared his plans for the future. He talked about buying multiple houses and turning them into rental properties, building a steady source of income. It was clear he was thinking long-term, not just about quick money. In the following days, Emily went back to her regular job as if nothing had happened. But soon she was called in by her boss and questioned about her sudden disappearance during work hours. As a result, she was suspended for 3 days. Still, Emily was not the type to sit still. Not long after, Yosef reached out to her again. When she met him, she directly asked for more work. Yosef agreed without hesitation, and this time, he took things further. He began teaching her how to produce fake cards herself, complete with preloaded data he had already gathered. Emily asked about the payment, but Yosef did not give her a clear answer. Instead, he set a target. She needed to convert the goods she bought into at least $5,000 within a week. There were also rules she had to follow. She could not return to the same store within that time frame, and she had to keep moving to avoid suspicion. With that, Emily took the equipment home, along with instructions on where to resell the items. The next day, she got straight to work. She bought goods from a store, then quickly sold them at a lower price to a middleman. It became a routine. Day after day, she repeated the process, building momentum. In the mornings, she continued her job as a food delivery driver. But on the side, the illegal work was bringing in far more money. The profits grew fast, enough for her to buy a safe to store everything she had earned. At one point, she was contacted by Liz, who asked her to take care of her dog for a couple of weeks. Life almost felt normal again, at least on the surface. After several days, Emily returned to Yosef to hand over her share. By then, she had already made $10,000. It was clear she was getting better at this. But behind the scenes, something else was happening. Yosef had been running this operation quietly with Emily, without informing his business partner, Khalil. And sooner or later, that kind of secret was bound to raise suspicion. One night while at home, Emily received a call from someone interested in buying one of her items. The request seemed simple, but there was a problem. The buyer insisted on completing the transaction at her house. That alone was a serious violation of the rules. In this line of work, personal space was never supposed to be exposed. Still, the meeting went ahead. Not long after, the buyer arrived, and it quickly became clear that this was not a normal transaction. Instead of taking the item, the man went straight for the money Emily had been storing. In a matter of moments, everything she had built up was gone. The total taken from her safe reached $500,000. But Emily was not someone who would let that go. Using a stun device she had on hand, she tracked the man down to his car and struck without hesitation, knocking him unconscious. During the struggle, she managed to identify him, making sure he would not be able to disappear afterward. In the end, she recovered what was hers. Soon after, she attended a small gathering at Liz's place. It was a completely different environment, surrounded by artists and designers, people living in a world far removed from everything she had been doing. For a moment, it felt like a glimpse into another life. Then Yosef showed up and blended into the situation with ease. He introduced himself, stayed close to Emily, and even stepped into the role of someone important in her life, helping her navigate the unfamiliar setting. Liz later gave Emily some promising news. She was being considered for a position as a design assistant, a chance to move into something legitimate. It was an opportunity that could change everything. After the event, Yosef took her home, and their connection grew stronger. What started as a partnership was slowly turning into something more personal. At one point, Yosef even showed her the properties he planned to invest in. He wanted her to see that he had bigger ambitions, that he was building something beyond quick money. Emily was impressed, and from that moment on, she began to look at him differently. Their relationship deepened further when Yosef invited her to meet his family. She was welcomed warmly, and everything seemed normal at first. But that calm did not last. Without warning, Khalil arrived with his men. The tension in the room shifted instantly. When Yosef's mother stepped away, Khalil revealed something that changed everything. He had footage showing Emily breaking one of the core rules, returning to the same store within a short period of time. The evidence had already spread publicly, making the situation even more dangerous. Before things could escalate further, the moment was interrupted, but the damage had already been done. The next day, Emily tried to focus on a different path. She went to Liz's office for an interview, hoping for a fresh start. Instead of jumping straight into questions, she was first introduced to the role and what it would involve. Later that day, she went to meet Yosef again. This time, something was clearly wrong. His condition had changed completely. He looked injured, and the anger in him was impossible to ignore. Without wasting time, he made it clear that they needed to leave immediately. After they arrived at her place, Yosef finally revealed the truth. He had been pushed out of the operation he had spent 3 years building. On top of that, he had not been paid for the last 5 months. Whatever had happened behind the scenes, it was clear that Khalil had taken control and cut him off completely. The frustration quickly turned into anger, and not long after, Yosef came up with a plan. He wanted to hit back by robbing the carting warehouse, the place where all the cash and unsold goods were being stored. His goal was simple: take everything before Khalil could move it. They agreed to act on it the next day. The following morning, Emily woke up and remembered something important. It was the day of her final interview with Liz's boss. For a moment, it felt like she still had a chance at a different life. Without wasting time, she headed straight to the office. But once she got there, the pressure came back. She was questioned again about her past, especially her criminal record. They wanted to know how she ended up in prison before. Then came another blow. She would not be paid for the first 6 months if she got the job. That was enough. Emily walked out, leaving the opportunity behind, and went straight back to Yosef. From there, they moved forward with their plan. They headed to the office where the money was supposed to be stored, expecting to finally take back what had been taken from them. Instead, they found nothing. The place was empty. No cash, no goods, nothing left behind. Yosef tried another location, hoping something had been overlooked, but the result was the same. Then he remembered the joint account he shared with Khalil. It was supposed to be their backup, but when he checked, it had already been drained. That was the moment it truly hit him. Everything was gone. At the same time, another problem surfaced. He was being asked to pay the down payment for the properties he had planned to buy. With no money left, the pressure became overwhelming. Yosef snapped. He turned his anger toward Emily, blaming her for breaking the rules and bringing attention to their operation. But Emily refused to take all the blame. She pushed back, pointing out that Yosef had allowed Khalil to take control for far too long. The argument escalated, but instead of breaking them apart, it pushed them in a different direction. Emily leaned into her instincts, the same instincts that had kept her going this far. She shifted the way Yosef was thinking, turning his frustration into something more focused. Slowly, his anger turned into a clear decision. They were going to take everything back. That night, they made their move and headed straight to Khalil's house. Emily took the lead. She approached the place first, pretending to be a food delivery. When one of the guards stepped out, she acted immediately, taking him down before he had any chance to react. It did not stop there. Emily took the guard's phone and used it to contact the others, drawing them away from the house one by one. The plan was to clear the place, leaving only Khalil inside. That way, it would be easier for her and Yosef to finish things. But once they got inside, something was off. Khalil was nowhere to be found. Then, without warning, he appeared and struck first. In an instant, Emily was left on her own. At first, she was pushed into a corner, struggling to keep control of the situation. But in that moment, she remembered what she had in her pocket. Acting fast, she turned the situation around and brought Khalil down. With the balance shifting in her favor, she finally got the information she needed. The money was hidden in the kitchen, inside a refrigerator. Emily went straight for it, recovered everything, then returned upstairs. Before leaving, she made sure Khalil had a way to call for help, then walked away from the scene. But the cost was heavy. She could not find the keys to Yosef's car, and worse, Yosef did not survive. For a moment, she had to face the reality of what had just happened. Then she made her choice. With no time left, she left him behind and took the money, escaping before the police could arrive. In the days that followed, authorities raided her home, but she was already gone. Emily had disappeared, leaving everything behind as she distanced herself from the chaos. And in the end, the story comes full circle. Emily returns to the same world she once entered out of desperation, but this time, she is no longer just a participant. She has taken control, building her own operation and bringing in new people under her command. So the moral of the story is, if someone offers you $2,000 an hour, maybe just double-check the hat on your head before you accidentally become a criminal mastermind with anger issues.